You shouldn't have to push your employees to work extra hours.
You cannot say it's wrong for the employer to do this. It's wrong for the employer to do that. It's wrong. Everybody likes to bitch online about, oh, this, that. If you want the promotion, do it. If you're doing it just to keep your job, okay, it depends on how badly you want your job. If you still don't like it, go somewhere else.
You're not going to be able to pay Amazon's fare, right?
But there are other tech companies that will pay more though.
How many are there? You can count it in your fingers. So your option is either suffer, get it, hope for a better company, or live homeless.
Keep your job or be homeless or whatever. Welcome to the real world.
Welcome guys, welcome to Dollar Diaries, and today's a very special episode because we are going to put in Bakr and one of our old quite special guests, Craig Fernandes, who is the founder of Secure My Scholarship, who has raised scholarships for many students across the world. And on the other side, we have Bakr, who likes to wear Hawaiian shirts and also talks a little bit too much about communism and also has unresolving issues with his OCD. And before we get started, let's look at our sponsors.
If you guys like paying full price for everything, this is not for you. Because look at Craig. He's been spending 5-6 days not sleeping because he's trying to save you up to 50% scholarship on your next university. He has 400 universities across UAE, US, and UK where you can get guaranteed scholarship, application fee waivers, and get reimbursements on TOEFL, IELTS, and other examinations as well. So if you want to get this offer, it's very simple. You go to bit.ly/paylessfees. That is bit.ly/paylessfees.
So these two guys have like an opposing views. I mean, not just views, but like outlook on how they go about their lives. Not just it goes to like working hours, it goes to personal finances, and also goes about how they make decisions. Here's the thing though, you really don't agree with the whole hustle culture.
No, I don't.
Yeah, and you're very much with it.
Yeah, firm believer, firm disciple in the hustle culture. It's what you got to do. I mean, open your eyes, look around. There are 9 billion people on earth. If you want to stand out from the crowd, if you want to be better than average, you have to be willing to do more than the average person. It's just that simple. There are 9 billion people around looking for jobs, looking for opportunities, looking for resources, looking for capital, whatever. And if you want to stand out and be better than the average, you have to do more than the average. It's just that simple.
Remember when we were talking about this, like standing out, right? Being different from any other, from the 9 billion people, right? This guy right here just, outsources assignments. He didn't work, basically what I'm saying, he didn't work at all. He was smarter in that way.
So keep in mind, like this mindset really depends on what you want to be. Ask any athlete or any sports person. And there are 1,000 documentaries on these guys on YouTube. And they will tell you that to make it to the top, pure talent only takes you so far. You have to wake up every day. You have to practice day in, day out, every single day of the year. You have to practice. You have to put in the hours to make yourself great. Ask any bodybuilder or fitness freak or whatever. They will tell you that the only way to do it is to put in the reps, go to the gym. So keep in mind, this mindset applies to, I guess, do you want to be the best in whatever you do? Do you want to be the best in your career, in your profession? Do you want to, launch an amazing startup? Whatever you want to do, it really just depends on you. But if you want to be the best, you have to push yourself. If you don't, and that's okay as well. Don't get me wrong, that's okay as well. If you don't, and maybe, there are other things that you value more in life, then you shouldn't do that because it doesn't make sense. In the same examples that I gave you, nobody will tell Virat Kohli he shouldn't have practiced so much because, we love our cricket stars. Nobody will tell Sylvester Stallone he should not have hit the gym because Sylvester Stallone is a rock star. But the moment someone tells you that if you want to be the best of your career, you have to put in more hours than the next person, now there's this raging firestorm because, what the hell is going on? That's not politically correct. How dare you say that? You see the hypocrisy in these arguments. No, if you want to be this amazing footballer, obviously, you have to practice. You have to practice 100 hours a week. But if you want to be this amazing accountant or, run this amazing company, you shouldn't do that. Right? So you see the hypocrisy in this. There's this entire mob on social media that will crucify anybody who dares to suggest anything like this. Shah Rukh Khan gave an amazing interview sometime back where he said, I want to travel. I want to eat whatever I want to eat. I want to watch movies. I want to play games. I want to do all of that. But he said, you know what? Maybe now he can. But 25 years ago, he's like, man, I couldn't do those things because more than any of that stuff, I wanted to be successful. And that's why I did it.
Is the number of hours the right way to approach practice? So let's say
if you can get as much done in 40 hours as the other guy could do in 100 hours, then great. You don't need to put in 100 hours, just put in the 40 hours. If you could do as much in 10 hours, this is what we tell everybody at Secure My Scholarship as well. Whenever we are hiring, we say your hours are completely flexible. You have key results, you have goals. If you can do this in 30 minutes, then you can take the rest of the week off. That's fine. If you can do it in 1 hour, take the rest of the week off, no problem. So if you can do in 40 hours what somebody else can do in 100, then you don't need to put in 100 hours. But if you can't, then you should.
No, that's something I agree with.
Yeah, but
Fair.
here's the thing: some people would abuse this. Let's say that you give a deadline, right?
Sure.
That deadline is not met. That means you have to work extra hours. So that's something that I've seen in companies that I've worked in. Not gonna name which ones, but like yeah.
Check out her LinkedIn, you'll find out which ones.
So I mean, when people say that, yeah, we have a deadline set in, okay, sometimes you can't meet those deadlines because of how taxing the task can be.
Sure.
Okay, that's always, no matter how much hours you put in, because it takes time. For sure, it does.
For sure.
So having this deadline concept, I think, I think this deadline thing always plays in it, that people overwork. And even though after they've tried to complete the
But
task.
I mean, even in that scenario, right? So why are you doing that project with that deadline? Is it for a promotion? Is it for something else? Is it just to keep your job? So a lot of different factors play in. And, perhaps if I worked at a company, and if I did, I don't right now, but if I did work at a company and my boss told me, listen, here's a project. It's very important. Here's the deadline. It's super strict. You have to finish it. If you can do this, we'll promote you. I do it. No questions asked. I do it. I want that promotion. I do it.
Would
But
you?
Okay, so that's where I disagree. So I feel like as an employer, you shouldn't have to push your employees to work extra hours.
But how can you say that, right? Because you are not the employer. Only the employer can say that. And people who work at that, that's what I'm saying. It's on every individual has agency over his or her life. Are you doing it because you want the promotion? I would do it in that scenario. Am I doing it to keep my job?
But
Depends
then-
on how badly I want my
but-
job then, I guess.
But
Like,
that's a very thing, right? Your promotion of doing all the hard work over the years, your promotion's being hanged on the fact that you have to work overtime
Exactly.
just to get that promotion.
Not
It feels-
just the length of how much you work.
That's the employer, though. If you don't like it, leave. Go somewhere else. Everybody likes to bitch online about, this, that. If you want the promotion, do it. If you're doing it just to keep your job, okay, it depends on how badly you want your job. If you still don't like it, go somewhere else. The worst company in the world to work for in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 was Amazon. Amazon is ruthless. I have friends who work in that office and they would walk into the office, and as they walk in, there'd be people crying at their desks. It's ruthless. If you don't get it done, you're out, or I don't know what happens if you don't get it done, but there'd be people crying at their desks, people sad. It was named worst company to work for in the world. Yet every year, over 1 million people apply to work at Amazon because it's Amazon. So that's your choice. Everybody has agency over their lives. If you don't want to do it, go work somewhere else. This is the employer. You cannot say it's wrong for the employer to do this. It's wrong for the employer to do that. It's wrong. Sometimes circumstances are such that a project is super important, needs to get done. The company might not be doing as well. They need to get things done. Whatever. The employer has to make a decision in the best interest of the company and the individuals as well. And that's what they're going to do. And every employer is different because every business is different.
Amazon's a great case,
For sure.
okay? You have a case wherein it's ruthless work environment,
Ruthless.
all right? There is going to be high churn, okay? And you can't run a company without people. No matter how good
Amazon is the biggest company in the world.
you can't run without people. You're going to churn.
But Amazon is the biggest company in the world. So
But if everyone decides to quit,
if
at whose cost, though?
if the smallest company in the world was named worst company in the world to work for, then your argument makes sense. The biggest company in the world, the company that has changed industries all over the world, is named worst company in the world to work for. So you can't over there. That's the thing, right? Amazon is built by people who are willing to put in those extra hours because they have stock options. They want those stocks to be valued higher. They want to exercise those stock options. They want promotions. They want to lead divisions. They are driven by other things. That's the thing. That's the point. And for those who don't like it, they leave and they go work somewhere else. But Amazon is worth trillions of dollars. Tesla as well. Tesla, Elon Musk made everybody work, I think, like 16-hour days to get the assembly line running in the Gigafactory. Elon Musk slept in the factory himself. Now, if you don't like that,
No,
go
so-
work somewhere else.
If Elon slept, that's fine, right? He's the ultimate beneficiary of
Even
this.
the engineers, if the engineers don't want to do that, the engineers can go somewhere else.
Yeah, but if the leading companies have that as the policy, what about the small companies? The small companies always look up to leading companies as benchmark.
Why?
Exactly.
Everybody is free to run their company how they want to run their company.
Yes,
But
in
they have set a standard, right?
In theory, right? But there are benchmarks. These are companies that are benchmark. When you look at e-commerce industry, Amazon is benchmark. When you look at EV, Tesla is benchmark. When you look at hardware, Apple's benchmark.
Really? I've never heard of anybody saying Noon is the worst company to work for in the world. I've never heard anybody saying so. When you say so, it's not like there's a playbook that you have to follow. I've never heard of anybody saying Flipkart is the worst company to work for.
It's a benchmark, right? Like if your biggest company is working that way, that is the general principle which other companies will operate. Yes,
The number
in
one
theory, you have
rule, the number one rule in business is to do something that people need. Now that's the benchmark.
Okay.
How you do it, there are many ways to do it.
Okay, wait. I like to cut in and say that you're thinking from a organizational point of view, and you are thinking from like an individual.
even as an organization point of view, right? Organization point of view, if my employees are leaving, that's a high churn rate. So every time I have to bring in a new person, train them, get them acquainted with the system, they won't last 3 months in the business. They're gone.
Yeah.
I have to do that over and over, 3 months, 2 months, 3 months,
But
2
again,
months.
that's
Yeah.
a decision the employer then has to take, right? So, for example, if such policies are impacting the performance of the company, then you got to change the policies. But if the policies are not impacting the performance of the company, then keep the policies. It's down to the employer. So I studied economics
Mhm.
when I was in college. And the one thing they tell you about economics is that the market, the free market, always finds an equilibrium. If a company is losing employees or is not able to do it, is not able to perform as effectively as they should, then they need to reverse their policies and find an equilibrium again. If they're out of equilibrium, the natural free flow of things will just rectify itself. But this is down to the company. It should not be a rule that is employed for everyone.
Okay.
All right. So this is where the problem comes in. Amazon, huge company in the US, significant amount of backing,
Sure.
huge market cap.
Sure.
Correct. What a company like that does is also lobby with the governments. All right. They set up certain standards.
You forget the fact
okay,
that, but
let
just
me
to
finish.
counter right though.
Ah.
You forget the fact that Amazon was once a small company.
So
Sorry,
every company was once a small company.
They did the
That's
same thing
not.
when they were small though.
You don't know that. Nobody tells you about what
You do
happened.
know that. You can just read
See,
interviews.
If Jeff Bezos slept in his office, that's fair, right? That's completely fair. If I was a founder, I would sleep in my office. But if I'm employing people, I don't expect the same from them. The reason is when you set a standard for yourself, it's up to, let's say Craig is my employee. It's up to him to sit with me and sit all night and work with me. But he shouldn't be forced. Like your salary, your promotions, your general livelihood shouldn't be threatened by the fact whether you're working more than your working hours. If
Yeah.
your job is a 9 to 5 job, the 9 to 5, you have to be 100%. Anything more than 9 to 5 is a gratitude. The other point is Amazon, huge lobbying governments, right? Nobody in the entire industry can pay the salary that Amazon can pay because they're huge. But at the same time, they also want to make sure that it's lobbied, that there is no, the minimum wage is cheaper. You have very poor working legislation over it. All these things are there and these are the standards. So these big companies lobby governments and governments set standards. So nobody's going to go and do. If you're a small business owner, you're going to make sure you maximize profit. And that is absolutely right. To maximize profit, you're going to make sure you're going to maximize profit at the most legal way possible. And if your legal standards are low, down to the bottom, then everybody's going to get abused, right? So
True.
even though you may not think Amazon's your benchmark, what Amazon does influences governments all around the world, and that influences legislations, and that affects small businesses who hire people in return.
But Amazon was once a small company. Amazon, when they had 5 people, did the same thing. Those people did it because they had a reason to do it. I'm
That's because they
assuming
want the
if you
ultimate
look
benefit.
at every single...
Here's the thing, right? Just to counter that, if Jeff Bezos and the 5 people he founded, like his starting team did that, that's fine. They're the ultimate beneficiaries. Why doesn't Amazon driver have to work the same amount of hours? Because he's not getting jack out of it, right? He's just getting his wages. That's it. Not everybody in Amazon has a stock option. Not everybody has stock grants.
But Amazon is not the government. Amazon is not here to provide a public utility. Amazon is here to change the world, run a company, whatever. And again, it comes back to what I was saying. If that driver in your example doesn't like it, the driver is free to find another. Amazon is not holding his passport. I know there are companies that do that. They hold your
Yeah,
passport,
but
you
they
can't
have-
leave.
Here's the
But
thing.
they have the leverage over it, right? If an
Why?
Amazon,
They'll tell everybody else not to hire?
no. If the Amazon, because of their size, they can pay significantly more than
Amazon
the
actually pays very low salaries, by the way. Amazon gets more people applying, but pays like on the bottom end of the tech scale.
No, I'm just
They'll give you stock
comparing
options
Amazon to
and whatever.
small businesses. Let's say you have a boutique e-commerce store and Amazon. You're not going to be able to pay Amazon's fare, right?
But there are other tech companies that will pay more though.
How many are there? How many competitors do
In the
we need?
US for those engineers?
Worldwide.
Firstly, worldwide.
Let's say worldwide. Let's segment Amazon, right? There's the e-commerce side of Amazon and the AWS side of Amazon. Let's look at the AWS side because engineering, right? Moscow. How many true competitors for AWS is there?
Azure.
Azure, Google
Google,
Cloud,
There's Alibaba.
DigitalOcean, Alibaba.
See,
You can count it in your fingers. You don't have a lot of
Actually,
competitors.
I don't know that much about Amazon's industry, or I'm not here to debate Amazon.
Take any company. Like, how many true companies do you have with significant market share in?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Consulting. There are 1,000 consulting companies, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
But are you the big four?
Who cares about the big four? McKinsey is one of the big four, but McKinsey is the most sought after consulting company in the world. And, McKinsey actually has this thing called the 80-20 rule. Every year, 20% of their staff are laid off. If you are in the bottom 20%, you will lose your job at the end of the year. If you don't want to lose your job, do better. And McKinsey gets more applicants and has a lower acceptance rate than any other consulting company because everybody wants to work at McKinsey.
Even then.
And there are 1,000 consulting companies.
How many are big as McKinsey? McKinsey
is actually pretty small.
Significant enough. Significant enough.
Small from a headcount size, not
significant
small,
enough. Market
Disclaimer.
share significant enough. Okay.
Sure.
You have your big four, McKinsey,
There are a lot of them.
Bain's are actually big four, I think.
No, I'm telling you, if you look it up, there are like over 500 of them. I'm telling you. But this is what they do. Literally, this is what they do. I know people.
Let's say there are 500 big consulting.
I know people who work at Deloitte who right now it's end of year closing, whatever, yada yada. They work like 110 hours a week. Why do they do that?
That's because there's no bigger company than Deloitte, one of the biggest companies.
Not really. I mean, not
come
really.
on.
You can go work at
how about this?
Grant Thornton, Moore Stevens. You just haven't heard of them. There are a lot of companies
Time
who
out,
pay the
time
same
out,
thing.
time
Let's say there are 500 huge companies. Right?
My point being is
500,
that
600. For a huge world population, there's 500 companies. That's the ratio we're looking
yeah,
at.
and if you don't work those hours, somebody else will. I promise you that because there are 500 companies and there are 9. That's what I started with. 9 billion people, 500 companies. If you don't put in that effort, somebody else will, and that's it. Because they want it more than you. They want it. They want your job. They want your success. They want it. I would do it. If I was in that position, if it was you and me, and somebody asked me to work 200 hours a week, I'd do it because I wanted it.
No, but
And that's the truth.
how I'm looking at it is these 500 companies have enough leverage to abuse employees.
Who's abusing anyone?
Okay.
If you're making it into a fucking
Pause,
cage
guys,
fight,
guys,
like,
pause.
you know,
Pause. Okay, let's look at it from this way. You're talking about how the employee has a choice.
Of course.
Every
Everybody
employee has a choice, right? Yes.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Employee has a choice.
We can come to an agreement on that, right? You can leave the company if you want to.
Correct.
Then if you're getting abused or if you're working over hours, right?
Yeah,
Of
fair.
course.
Yeah, right. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying that from from the organization standpoint, organizations are abusing the employees and they're using promotions or like pay raise as leverage to make them work extra hours rather
No,
than
or not just that,
Hold
even
on,
the
hold on.
prestige of working for Deloitte or McKinsey.
yeah. They can leave anytime, but sometimes they are stuck in that position, right?
Why?
They are stuck because
Right.
of their financial situation, because of maybe debts, loans. Employees do, honestly, they do. If you are stuck, let's say if you have like a loan right now, 5 years loan, or if you've taken like a house mortgage or anything, you have to do that job regardless. That pressure is going to be on you. And from the point that he made, like, yeah, this is the standard that people set in. If he is going to quit his job, like you said, you have a choice to leave. Somebody else is going to come in. Somebody else has to face that same mental issue. It creates like a circle. Can we agree on that? Like this person suffered
No,
through
not
it.
really. No.
They quit, but
Because
then
you're-
it
you're
creates
more-
an unhealthy standard.
No, it doesn't. Because if you have those loans, or as you describe, whatever, then your motivation to do those hard hours is to pay off your loans. You have your loans. You need to pay them off. If you can find another job, that's great. If you can't, then you have to work these hours to pay off because that's your motivation.
So-
and the next person who comes in might not have the loans.
No,
So it doesn't create any
the
circular standard.
solution is you either work hard hours or you be homeless. That's what the
You don't
argument
be
is.
homeless.
If you have a
Because
mortgage in
here's
your
the thing,
home
here's the
and
thing.
you have to leave the job, you don't necessarily have the option to quit your job and take a chill, right?
Why?
How are you going to pay your mortgage?
How are you going to pay your mortgage? Find another job.
What if you don't get?
What if
What
you
if
don't
it's
get?
low pay? What if it's you have 499 companies? We're competing. As you said, there are people competing for it. Like, what if you
Yeah.
don't get a role?
Someone is willing
So-
to work for a lower pay.
So your option is either suffer, hope for a better company, or live homeless. That's ultimately
That's
what
where he's coming to the point of having like a work-life balance. So
But what difference does that make in that example? Because even with a work-life balance, someone can still work for less money than you. And you'll still lose your job and go homeless in the same example.
no.
Someone will
think
still
he-
work for half the money. Even if you have a work-life balance. Let's say you're working 40 hours a week and you have a beautiful life. Somebody will still work at half the salary. You'll still go homeless. What will you do then? This argument doesn't make any sense.
Here's
Because you're saying that, oh, keep your job or be homeless or whatever. Boss, this is Earth. Welcome to the real world. This is not some fairy tale that your parents drew for you when you were 5 years old. This is the real world. If you survive, you survive. If you don't, you don't. That's the way the world works. Even if you have a beautiful life,
Mhm.
your job could still get outsourced to Vietnam or wherever, and you'll go homeless in that same example. What are you can do then? So
That
that's
is
my
ultimately
point.
the problem. That is the problem, right? You have 500 companies for 9 billion people. What is going to happen is
There are not 500 companies. There are
Top companies.
millions of companies. There are, let's say, 500 or 1,000 top companies. But there are millions of companies.
Let's take a benchmark, S&P 500, the
Sure.
500 biggest companies,
Sure.
right? All 9 billion people want to work for one of those 500 companies, no matter what the time it is, no matter what the pay is. There is a prestige that comes with working for the S&P 500 companies.
Yeah.
That's agreeable, right?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. What the S&P 500 companies or the Fortune 500 companies have is that leverage, right? If you're not willing to put in extra hours to stay in the job, I can just replace you. So you're just a very replaceable cog. You bring no value to it. You're a replaceable cog. You just do the same thing that can be replaced by 15 other people. If that is the case, why be pushed to spend extra hours?
Then
Yeah.
why do you want to work there then? If what you're describing is true, I would not want to work at one of those companies.
Like he said,
Okay.
organizations are setting that standards.
but no, you said that people want to work there because of the prestige.
Yeah,
But
there
if,
is a prestige
if
that
that
comes with it.
apocalyptic, if that what you describe is a terrible scenario, and I agree with you, fine. If that scenario was the case, I would not want to work at one of those companies. I'd want to work where I was valued, and if I have to work hard, I have to work hard. But I want to work where I was valued, and that's it. So I guess it all depends on what you choose, because in what you describe is a terrible scenario. And
But it does
people
happen
shouldn't-
to people.
No, people shouldn't want to work there then. People do want to work there because it's not like what you described, first and foremost. And secondly,
there's
it's not
okay,
what you
one
like what
thing
you
we can
described.
agree on is people do want to work for these big companies, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, of course.
Right? People want to
Because
work
it's not like that. That's the point. It's not like that. People work at an airline which might have shitty hours because the airline pays their university fees or school fees. I don't know, gives them housing. I don't know, whatever. It's not as terrible as you make it out to be, is my point. Otherwise, nobody would want to work there. I wouldn't want to work there.
But here's
people
the
are
thing,
still
right?
tied
When you
to
go into a job, any company, okay, not just a 500 company, startup, mid-sized companies, wherever, there is a clear agreement, right? You work X amount of hours, you get X amount of pay. That's a clear equation over there.
Not
X
really.
amount,
No.
unless it's a different, like a commission base or delivery.
Could
I'm talking
depend,
about
honestly.
a general blue collar work.
9 to
Sure.
5.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, general blue collar work, X amount of hours, you work 9 to 5, you get this as your base salary. Okay.
Sure.
You get certain benefits on top of that.
Sure.
All right. That should be the equation. Your growth prospect, your potential for a promotion should not go outside that equation. It shouldn't be contingent on the fact that you work X plus 5 hours to get that promotion.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if what you've been told is this is a 9 to 5 job and that's it, and this is your salary and whatever, and then that I guess contract is broken, then sure. Like then you have a problem.
If that is where I'm getting to.
Yeah,
if that
you
is in the
haven't.
contract.
As long as that's clear, though. As long as it's clear. And I think a company would be clear on that. So
Okay, so is it fair to hold promotion on working that X plus 5 hours?
I hold promotion on results.
Results. Okay,
Whoever gets
that's
the
a fair.
results.
That's
Now,
very fair.
I
That's a
don't,
fair.
again, like, it doesn't matter whether you put in 1 hour or whether you put in 100 hours. If you deliver the results, you get whatever is coming to you, right? But I guess coming back to your earlier point, as long as it's been made clear when you start, like, listen, results-based, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then that's fine. Then you got to push yourself. That's what you signed up for. But if you're, okay, like driving a truck or working in a warehouse and you have set hours and set shifts, then yeah, like you should not be made to work longer than those shifts. And if you are, you should be paid overtime.
Going back to your results-based performance, okay?
Sure.
Let's take in this case where the employer puts in the hours, but there's no results. But he still works the hours. He puts in the X amount of time, goes overtime, still can't reach that goal. How would you? And that in that sense, he's not up for the promotion or up for the pay raise.
Depending
So
on the
in
company.
that case, his point of view about like having a proper or a healthy work culture or like
Just
a
to
healthy working hours.
Cut you off a little bit
Yeah, go
quickly,
ahead.
right? If it's a purely KPI driven job,
Mhm.
okay, the person puts the scheduled X amount of shift, puts extra time and can't achieve that goal. There are two possible solutions. One, the person's not up to the task. That's fine. That I agree with Craig on. The second thing is your KPI correct to begin with? If somebody's putting in X amount of work and putting extra additional hours, is your KPI setting correct in the first place? But I think we both agree on that, right? That's a fairly common
pretty simple.
consensus.
Yeah, exactly.
That is very.
Does the person have the resources he needs to get it done?
Yeah, if
Was
it's
the goal set properly? Is the person up to the task? It's one of three things. Literally.
yeah,
I think this is a very
that is
very
an
good
point we
place.
agree on.
This is a very, very good place to like come into an agreement.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest problem with Craig is he's talking to two Gen Zs who like really, value.
No, there are some whiny people on the internet.
Yeah,
Don't get
I
me
do
wrong.
agree. They are whiny.
There
And
are
to be
whiny
fair,
people.
also, just for the audience, I'm only 27, so I'm only 27, just to put that out there.
No, just to be clear,
I'll
there
tell
are
you, man,
whiny
like,
people.
I've always been defined by hard work. I launched my first company when I was 14 years old. I launched my second company when I was 17, third company when I was 18, fourth company when I was 20, fifth company when I was 25, raised over $1 million in capital. Today, Secure My Scholarship has been, like, as per our last funding round, valued at 22 million dirhams. We have 29 people based in 19 different cities. And with Secure My Scholarship, it's very, very simple. It's when we hire anyone as well, we tell them, come work with us. And this is how it's going to be. It's difficult. It's not going to be a walk in the park or anything like that. If you want that, go work somewhere else. It's going to be difficult. And if we succeed, help us change the world. Help us change the lives of 100,000 people around the world. And at the same time, change your life and change your family's life. And it's that simple. And that's what's told to everybody when we hire them. This is really who I am, how we're built out, and what we've done. And yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
That is a good perspective, right? I've tried a couple of things, failed. Right? You put in all that hours. Okay, you're in your 5th startup. If you really compound all of that, what is your true success rate? Right? It's marginal.
What do you mean?
Right? You put in, let's say you work 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
15 hours a day. First startup, what happened to the first startup?
It was like a hobby thing that we ran in school.
Okay.
It would make us 10,000 dirhams a month.
Okay.
Which when you're 14 years old is not so bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
What about the
consider
second?
that a success.
Why didn't it continue further?
I went to university.
Okay. Second startup. What was
Second
it?
startup was like a travel agency. We'd bus people to away football games in the US. We'd make about $1,000 per game. Not so bad when you're 17.
Why didn't it continue?
There's only 7 football games in the college calendar.
Okay. So
not so bad. That's still success. Third startup. We'd take deliveries and take orders and then go to the grocery, pick up stuff and bring it back.
why didn't it continue?
You need millions of orders for that to work. It's kind of like InstaShop. We didn't really put in that long. We realized that pretty quick.
Okay. Fourth startup, Lock and Stock, right?
Yeah. We built the largest student lifestyle platform in the UAE.
Why didn't it continue?
It did continue, just pivoted.
Pivoted to
Secure
My
My
Scholarship. Okay.
So I think, so basically,
no, when
4 out of 5 successes.
Yeah,
so
4
not
out of-
marginal.
Not 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
It's
1, 2,
only,
3, 4.
you can say Lock and Stock and Secure My Scholarship successful.
But then you can't count the other ones as failures.
If it doesn't continue, then what's
If
the
it
point?
doesn't meet the results.
What was the goal though? The goal was not to build a company. The goal was to pay for cabs and buy myself nice stuff. It did that. So it was a success.
Yeah, but
So I think that's
It's
where you
success.
guys differ.
yeah, so I did Adi's assignments and I made equal amount of money, which
Sure,
took less
that's
amount
great,
of
man.
time.
Sure, awesome.
Right? So if we really look at how much hours you put in and how much hard work you put in versus what is your true success rate, it's marginal. Right? Did you have to necessarily put that much hours into something to just make side cash?
How many hours do you think I put in?
Just you said 15 hours
A
roughly.
day?
Yeah.
To do that, we'd organize a football tournament. It would take 8 hours to make $10,000.
8 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Thank you.
that's
So
fair.
thank you.
No,
Thank you.
that's fair.
Second company. We'd take a weekend to make $1,000.
Okay.
Pretty successful, yeah? Thank you.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, thank you. And the end outcomes with those were just to make some cash. They weren't actually real companies. My point being is that I've always looked to work hard and work wherever, intern wherever, this, that, whatever. 4 years of university, worked every single day. That's what I believe, at least. If you want to succeed, you have to work hard.
And I think this is a very good way to end this very nice argument that I did not support any one of you guys in. Yeah.
Shake
So,
hand.
shake hands, guys. Hey, there we go. Shaking hands, making friends. That's what Dollar Diaries is about.